Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Saturday night with Smaulgld. It is Saturday, November 10th, 2015. It is 2018. And tonight's topic, here comes the bacon-backed Yuan, game changer. Before we get into our topic tonight, we're also going to be covering the owners per ounce of silver and gold on the COMEX, and we got some charts to show you there. But first, let's take a look at where we closed out during the week. Gold and silver closed at 12.09. That was down. Silver closed at 14.15. Overall, a very bad week for gold and silver after a very good past 3 or 4 weeks. But the Fed announcement looks like that they made on Wednesday that the markets are anticipating further rate hikes through 2018 and into 2019. So that's taking a bit of a shine off of our precious metals. And the stock market also, which began its gyrations about a month ago, has also been heading more down than up, but it's been doing this bouncing around in pretty big swings. Lots of volatility. Now, speaking of volatility, we don't seem to have much volatility over at the cryptocurrencies for the last 2 months. Today, Bitcoin 24-hour price up just 0.31% at 63.57 on Coinbase Bitcoin Cash. There's been volatility in Bitcoin Cash, but that's not crypto markets. That's more Bitcoin Cash specific based on its forking. And that's up 1.29% over the last 24 hours, and that's at 546.95. Ethereum at 210, up 1.21%. Litecoin at 51.87, up 0.25%. And Ethereum Classic at 9.41, down 0.5%. So the cryptos have really leveled out. Volume I wouldn't say it's dried up. It's still bigger than last year, but it's come down a big ways. And I think a lot of that's waiting on these ETFs and other major corporate initiatives coming from Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Microsoft, Starbucks, Boston Consulting Group, New York Stock Exchange. We're talking about these regulated platforms and storage solutions and ETFs that are supposedly being considered and are imminent or within the next couple of months, 6 months or so. And I think that would change what's going on in the trading of cryptocurrencies. Either that's going to bring a big burst of new money in, or it's going to be a dud, and we're just going to continue to see what we see. But I would imagine that if Wall Street is behind something like this, they'll do whatever they can to promote it. Now, anyway, let's move on now to tonight's topic. Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Well, here comes the bacon-backed Yuan game changer. Now, those of you who have followed this channel for a long time know that I have, in many instances, somewhat mocked this concept that China was going to crush the dollar with the BRICS, and China had it going on, and everything China was doing was designed to crush the dollar and to revalue gold, and it was going to be a game changer. There was going to be a gold-backed yuan. China was producing, and we were just borrowing. Well, some of that's true, but a lot of China's production has been based on borrowing a lot of money and building a lot of stuff that they don't need. And I've been pointing that out, and I've been pointing out that China is a massive debt Ponzi scheme, in addition to being a totalitarian society with people having their credit scores, social credit scores, monitored almost on a minute-to-minute basis, facial recognition technology. And this is nothing against the Chinese. It's really just a characterization which is more true as to what's happening in China than what the gold pumpers are telling you, that China is some type of golden society where everyone works hard, sound money, they just are interested in gold and buying gold, and the United States is just evil because it just issues debt and goes and invades country. That is the gold pumper narrative. And there's always, in any narrative or pumper narrative, there's elements of truth in them. But in the gold pumper narrative, or in any narrative, generally they just cherry pick facts and ignore other facts, and they ignore plenty about China, either willfully or just because they're repeating another narrative that they heard. And that's another thing with narratives. Once they establish it and it doesn't include certain facts they either don't want you to hear or they don't know about, it just gets repeated, and then people insist that that's the way China is. So China is basically a place where you go and everyone loves gold and they produce a lot and they're going to crush the dollar and then they're going to export this wonderful society across Asia, across the world, and they're going to dominate with the Belt and Road. And we've pointed out that a lot of the Belt and Road stuff is nothing more than expanding and exporting the Ponzi scheme, and a lot of the countries along the Belt and Road have already started to cancel a lot of those projects. And then, of course, they've attributed to China some type of mythical status of Sun Tzu. Read Sun Tzu, Art of War. Everything they do is Sun Tzu. It creates some type of superiority because they follow the teachings of Sun Tzu. It's almost like with the QAnon stuff. Anything that happens, even if it appears to be not too good for China or not too good for the patriots, what they try to say is it's part of the plan. Or if China's doing something wrong, they're not doing well. It's Sun Tzu, just appear weak to make it look like you're weak when you're really strong. Anyway, that's, this channel is all about exploding false narratives, pumper stories. But I saw today this interesting thing here. China total U.S. debt due in the next 12 months excludes the trade finance-related funding, $614 billion. Put that on top of the somewhat $50 trillion that supposedly that they owe. Most of it created in the last 5 to 10 years. And you are talking about the world's biggest Ponzi scheme. Now, what people say is, well, the United States, they owe a lot of money. United States. Yeah, that doesn't negate the fact that China is accelerating its debt even faster than the United States. Oh, but then China has gold and China owes this money to itself. All types of excuses. Really, the story is not, I'm not defending the U.S. debt situation. I'm just pointing out that China's is worse. And again, that's not a good argument either. That, Johnny took a cookie and then you say, did you take a cookie? And you say, well, Johnny took one. That doesn't excuse your theft. But it points out that people are really looking just to point the finger at one place. And really, the finger needs to be pointed at the entire global financial system. But what most people like to do is they like to pick a country like the United States and blame it all on the United States and say they're the ones that are going to go down. When actually, that's the thing furthest from the truth. The dollar is probably the last of the fiat currencies to go down. We've seen that countries that are relying on dollars go down first, like Turkey, Venezuela, Argentina. Those countries have a much harder time, and China's going to have a hard time because not only does it have its own internal debt, it's got a lot of dollar-denominated debt as well. So the real issue is not whether it's China or the U.S. They're both in very bad shape. China's probably in worse shape with respect to debt, but it's really the entire global financial system. So when people just point to one and somehow think that China, the real problem I have with the China story is they seem to think, the China gold pumpers, that China's doing well. And they may be absolutely correct about the untenable, unsustainable U.S. debt situation, but they totally ignore the Chinese because, Sun Tzu and China to crush the dollar, and they've joined up with the BRICS, and the BRICS have had it, and dollar collapse. Well, not necessarily true. But here's an interesting story that I saw today about the bacon-backed yuan. Now, there's a company over there in China called Chuying Agro-Pastoral Group. Now, they sell pork products and chicken, and it's a very big, I guess that's like ConAgra, I suppose, would be the closest analog in the U.S., and they slaughter pork, they make ham and bacon and sausage and all types of pork products, ribs, things like that. But the problem that they had a type of what was it? A type of disease that struck the swine. You know, swine flu, where they had African swine fever, and they're having trouble paying off some of their local debt. This is their 500 million yuan of local bonds are just due this week, and I got it. I ain't got it. They don't have it. So apparently they filed on Thursday with the Shenzhen Stock Exchange and said that they're working out and they think they have a deal, what they call payment in kind, payment in ham, payment in bacon, to offer their creditors these luxurious pork gift packages. I don't know how much ham you got to pack into a gift package. You know, when you have holiday or Christmas gifts, you buy the ham in the middle of the basket and a bunch of cheese that doesn't go bad for 3 years. It doesn't require refrigeration, and some of those little tubes of pork, whatever is in those things. But these, apparently, these are packages from Chunyang Agro-Pastoral. They cost 9,000 yuan, or about $1,300. $1,300. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of pork. But apparently, they are. They've managed to convince. I guess, what are they going to do? Say no? We'll take nothing. We'll hold on for the yuan. By then, the yuan will probably be worth even less. They figure, probably in this case, the creditors, they're better off taking the pork, the bacon, and bringing that stuff home. So it looks like this is, now I wouldn't say that this company, the dire straits that this company may be in terms of credit, has anything to do with the Chinese economy, although it might. There's plenty of companies out there. The bad debt ratios, they say the non-performing loans, depending on the industry, could be 40, 50, 60%. This one, they say, is particular because of the swine flu, but they could be having other issues too. Who knows? But this particular company has at least found a way to hang on for a while by bringing home the bacon and giving out these hams and porks. And who knows how long that will last. I mean, if you're a creditor, yeah, I guess I couldn't use $1,300 worth of pork, but maybe I could. But maybe the next debt payment due, I don't think I want another $1,200 worth of bacon and hams and things like that. So we'll see what happens over there at the Chunyang Agro-Pastoral Company. And also, these are packages. I mean, they have to kind of make them too. I suppose they don't have that many debtors, so they probably have enough of these gift packages on hand for retail. That was a very interesting thing. Got all this talk about gold back yuan, game changer, dollar collapse, gold triangle, Shanghai Gold Exchange. All these pumper narratives are totally false. Well, we can now say we do have a payment in ham. This is a fact. Here comes the bacon-backed yuan, game changer. All right, now what I want to do tonight, and this is we get back to our topics on gold and silver. I'm starting to see these stories again about the COMEX. They're not quite talking about COMEX default, but there's kind of that pumper mentality there, that there's something wrong with the COMEX and that it's going to, they're not saying it, but these are the factors and the charts that they might point to when they start with this story, the COMEX default story. China is going to stand for delivery, and then it's going to collapse because they won't have any gold or silver, and it's going to be, guess what? Game over, and then it'll be a game changer and so on. But let's take a look first at our silver that's piled up into our stockpiles, and then we're going to go through this owners per ounce concept. Now, one of the things we've been following along is the how much silver is in these depositories, and we've basically been following, for the most part, the overall amount of silver in the COMEX vaults. And for those of you who haven't heard, excuse me. For those of you who haven't heard these podcasts before, I generally go through and explain what silver in these depositories means, what type of silver, These are silver bars, not all the silver that the depository may have, but the silver that's in a shape or form that's eligible to be traded if someone wants to take delivery. So they have to be, in the case of silver, they're the 1,000 ounce bars, 999 fine, and then in gold, they are, I believe, there's a certain kilo bar, and then there's a certain ounce bar. I think it's a 100 ounce bar that has to be, I think it's 996 fine in order to be traded. Now these depositories could hold other gold and silver. They can hold silver eagles, gold eagles, other bars, small bars, 1 ounce bars, 10 ounce bars. That doesn't count in the numbers that we look at. What we're looking at are the gold and silver bars that are eligible to trade, and then there's a distinction what is registered for trade. Registered for trade is that which is eligible in that form, that's the proper size, the proper type of gold or silver bar, and it's registered and it's ready to go. If somebody wants to buy it, it's there. You can deliver. You could say it's deliverable, and then you add the two up and you get how much gold or silver is totally in the vaults of these eligible vaults. Now there's about 6 or 7 eligible silver vaults and gold vaults, and for silver the big ones are operated by Brinks Coins and Things and JP Morgan, and then on the gold side it's more like HSBC, JP Morgan, and some others. But people get all excited about the amount of registered silver and gold available, and when they see that number go low, they hit the panic button and the subscriptions go flying because people think they've got some inside information about the imminent COMEX default, the game changer, game over, then you won't be able to get gold or silver anywhere. Those types of stories start popping up. But here is Brinks. Now Brinks I like because I've been following it for a while, and you can see the Brinks silver stockpile has really increased. It's doubled in just 2 years. And you can see back in mid 2016, late 2016, it was like 20 million ounces in there, 20 million ounces in those eligible forms, and now it's like 15.4 million ounces. It's a lot of silver in there. Now let's take a look over now at the other large silver stockpile, and that one is our friends at JP Morgan. Now you know these depositories are held for the public benefit. These aren't proprietary vaults, meaning that Brinks buys silver and then it sells silver, and this is how much they have. They hold it on behalf of clients. Same with JP Morgan. This nonsense story about JP Morgan is stacking silver. They had 800 million ounces, gold eagle, so whatever those nonsense stories are. This is just part of the hoard. At least this is not mythical. This you can at least say, well, JP Morgan has this under their control. You can't prove ownership, but the rest of this stuff is complete invention and speculation. But here you can see this vault has 152 million ounces, and that's quite a large hoard. And very little of it is registered, but it's an eligible form. And let's see what that does for the total hoard at the COMEX. Well, that brings us up to 290, pretty much 294 million ounces. Now that's a lot of silver. Well, that is a lot of silver. And of that, 88 million ounces of it are registered, ready to go if someone wants to stand for delivery. And we've talked about how most traders on COMEX, they're not there to buy silver, to settle their contract in silver. Some of them are. But for the most part, they're playing the fiat game. They're playing price exposure. They're either there trading because they just like to trade and they care less about ever seeing an ounce of gold or silver. I did an interview with James Henry Anderson the other day on Silver Doctors, and we were talking about a LBMA conference that they were having, and the head of it was saying that some of the traders and some of the members of the LBMA have never even seen or held a gold, and I think she brought with her some type of gold specimen, and they were all looking at it like, "Whoa, look at this," and they've been trading it for 30 years. But that just gives you an indication of how and we used the word, there was a disconnect, and someone was trying to say that isn't a word. It actually is nowadays, but or disconnection between the traders and the actual physical metal. But you can see here, there are 293 million ounces. Apparently, if you add up all the COMEX eligible vaults, including JP Morgan and Brinks, at the COMEX vaults, and that's a lot of silver. Before we get into the gold, I just want to get some comments quickly here. Kareem says, hey, love the Stein. I collect them. Well, if you're interested in that Stein, let me give you the link here. They are available now. I managed to have them ready to go. So I'll leave you a link below. Anyone else who wants a beer Stein. The reason I went into beer Steins and beer mugs is because a lot of you listen at night. Some of you listen in the morning to the replay and you need the coffee mug. But maybe you might need a beer mug. And so that's a 22-ounce beer mug. Also on the site, there's a 16-ounce frosted Smaulgld mug. But please check them out. It does help the site out. I make like $2 on each sale. But it's nice to have, and I think it builds a bit of community when you're sitting listening to Smaulgld with your coffee in the morning or your beer in the evening or other favorite beverage, adult or otherwise. What does MUST stand for, says Richard? That's just a, that's my, really. When people are always saying, but my roads, but it's always, but my this or that. It's just to indicate that it's a bit of sarcasm in that. All right, I'll take the rest of these questions as we move on. All right, well, it looks like you're going to have to go. See, this is why I don't like YouTube. They wouldn't let me post my link. And they're not even letting me post the Smaulgld link. Anyway, let me just say hello and see if that works. They're not even letting me post. All right, well, there you go. I can't post in the live chat on my own live stream. Well, there you go. All right, let's get back to our charts. And we are looking at now I want to take a look at gold. All right, so a lot of people get all excited about there's not a lot of gold at the COMEX. COMEX is going to default. And let me show you what they're talking about. Owners per ounce of gold registered. I think this is the one. Not silver. Let me get you the right one. Yeah, there it is. And this is, again, this is a historic second highest ever. And this is something, you know, if you want to get all excited about and game change and so on, this is it. All right, let me just see. I can't post here. Post. Nope. Funny. Smaulgld can't post on his own live stream. All right. COMEX warehouse registered gold stock. Now, we talked about what registered means. Registered is the gold that's not only in the form that's eligible, but that the people that own it have registered and it's available for delivery. Now, here's where people are going to get excited. Go to the bottom. Well, let's go through the top. Top is just the price. The top bar across the top is the price of gold is $12.08. The next one, the next thing down is the number of contracts. Those, yeah, it's the 100-ounce bars. The 100-ounce contracts, how many they're outstanding. And I think it's almost 50 million ounces of gold. That represents those contracts that's there. And then the next box is how much gold is registered and available. And this chart goes from 2009 to 2018. That's the third box. And you can see there's only 138,000 ounces of gold that's registered. And yet they're trading 50 million ounces worth of contracts. Well, there you go. That's game over, game changer, evidence of fraud, and so on. Well, not really. And if you go to the bottom box there, it tells you there's 361 owners per ounce, meaning that there's 50 million contracts out there that could potentially, that represent that people may want the gold backing those contracts, however they turn out, and there's only 138,000 ounces. Now that's fraud, and that's game over, game changer, and so on. But let's take a look really at what's happening, because that doesn't tell you much. First of all, let us take a look now at the total amount of gold that's at the COMEX vaults. And here you see there's a lot of gold in the COMEX vaults. There are nearly 9 million ounces in the COMEX vault, 8.78 million ounces. And that's the eligible gold. However, the registered gold is only 140,000 ounces. That just means that the people who have their gold in this eligible form, and remember, the reason most of them have it in that form and they don't have gold eagles or some other gold bars is because when the time comes to sell it, they know they can dump it on the COMEX. I mean, they're not stackers. Maybe they are, but for the most part, they're there. They want the liquidity of a COMEX depository where they have bought the gold in the form that can be registered and sold. Now, you can put your gold eagles in some of these vaults, like at the Brinks vault. You can ship them there and they can stay there. Bullion dealers will arrange that for you. They'll do it with the monster boxes, silver eagles. You can't get rid of them on COMEX. They don't trade on COMEX. But the point here is that there is no problem with COMEX right now, because if somebody really was standing for delivery in amounts that weren't registered, well, someone would register and they'd be sold or they'd be cash settled. So it's not really that big of a deal. But you can see, if you look at these other charts, when they make these dramatic statements, the 360 owners per ounce, let's take a look at, when you look at it, not from registered gold, but let's take a look at the eligible gold and see how many owners per ounce there are there. So here, if you take into account the eligible gold, and you take a look at this chart, you can see the gold price at the top. The second one, you see the contracts. It's the same number of contracts representing 49 million ounces. However, the eligible bars that are in COMEX but are not registered, well, there's 8.6 million ounces of gold there. Well, that brings the owners per ounce down to a very reasonable 5.78. And since 95, 98, 99% of the contracts never request the gold because they're there to take the fiat profit, there's plenty of gold there. There's like no issue whatsoever. It's just not registered, and it could be registered if needed to be. That's why it's in that form. And then, of course, if you go over to the all the gold that's available, the owners per ounce gets even lower, slightly lower, because there's not much. You're adding up the eligible and the registered, but there you see your chart. It's only 5.6 to 1 owners per ounce. All right, let's take a look. I'll have all these charts posted tomorrow on Smaulgld. If they're going too fast for you, you can check them out at your leisure. Go to smaulgld.com, and you definitely can see them there. Let's take a look at the same thing for silver. So if you look at the owners per ounce of silver, and you only look at registered silver, okay, which is the ones that are in the form and registered, well, that's not too bad. 12 to 1. You've got the silver price at the top at $14.14. You've got 1 billion ounces of silver being under contract right now, and that's more than an annual's year's mining production, silver mining production. But you do have 88 million ounces, or 87.366 million ounces that are registered, and that's a pretty high number. And that means that it's about a 12 owners per ounce, 12.135 ratio. Well, how much do we have over on the eligible side, which means it's eligible but not registered? Let's take a look at that chart. And you'll see the close at the top, $14.14. The 1,059,000 million ounces, 1,059 ounces. That's 1,059 million ounces, or 1 billion plus ounces. And then the third one, you see there's 206 million ounces eligible for trading in the proper form, those 1,000-ounce bars. That takes you down to owners per ounce at 513. But if you take all the silver that's in the COMEX vaults, the eligible, which can be registered, and the registered, well, you could see there's, as they say in England, no troubles at all. You got a 14.14 price at the top. You got the 1 billion ounces traded. You have 293 million ounces that are available that can be delivered if registered. That brings you down to a 3.6 owners per ounce. Now, for those of you concerned about fractional reserve banking and so on, or fractional reserve silver, This is actually much healthier than banking. Much, much healthier. First of all, the people there are not there to take delivery. And second of all, your banking doesn't, I guarantee it doesn't have a ratio like that. They say generally it's 10 to 1, something like that. So there's plenty of silver at the COMEX vault. There's plenty of gold at the COMEX vaults. I would not get excited over those types of stories. And then they try to get you angry. Oh, it's a fraud. No, they know what they're doing. It's only a fraud if they didn't know what was going on. When you trade, you know. What's fraudulent is when you ring up a bullion dealer and you want to buy gold or silver, and then you send them the money, and then they tell you, yeah, you bought a gold coin. We can send you like 1/10 of an ounce, but we can't send you the full ounce because basically they only have 10 1/10 ounce coins, and they've taken orders for 20 gold coins, and they only have an ounce of gold. That's fraud. That's basically fraud. It's not fraud to trade futures contracts where there's not enough gold or silver that backs every contract. That's just the way it is. You don't have to trade there. If you want to go out and buy 100 ounces of gold, you want that 100-ounce gold bar, you want that 1,000-ounce gold silver bar, go out and buy one. You don't have to play with the contracts. And generally, what people who do buy bullion, what they actually do is they go and they buy the bullion somewhere else, and then they trade the contract to hedge their position. All right. I hope you understand that. If not, shoot me an email. I wish I could. I can't comment to you back on the thing here. All right. So is there voter fraud true in Broward County? Well, they're looking at it. Again, remember, when you talk about fraud or any type of issue that you may have where you see something not right, it's an anomaly. Now, what's happening in Broward County is clearly an anomaly. Why? Well, there's some reasons to be suspicious. The whole county appears to be run by Democrats. All the other counties got their votes in, and Broward County is finding votes after the fact 4 and 5 days later, where all the other counties got all their votes in. They're sending lawyers there, and they've issues of finding boxes of ballots. So it appears to be that it's worth looking into fraud, but we don't know if there's fraud. But there's evidence that leads people to believe that there might be fraud, so they're clearly going to look into that. Does that make the dollar drop if the election is rigged? Well, that's an interesting question. Depends on how much people feel that a rigged election undermines confidence in the United States government and dollar. And, if it becomes a big deal. Now, we saw, I think, and this is the same county that caused the 2000 election with Gore and Bush to go to the Supreme Court. I don't think it would cause much for the dollar because the election is rigged in Broward if it's determined to be rigged. It's not rigged across the country or even across the state if that's what they determine. And also, this Senate seat and this governor's seat don't really change it. It wouldn't make the Republican Senate go into a minority, and whether Gillum or DeSantis is governor is not really a national dollar issue. Richard B. If election rigging is present in a number of states, oh, there you go. People will start to question rigging is occurring or has occurred in their own state. Yes, and that could have an impact on how people view the United States, the dollar, and so on. Yeah, because banana republic countries have these issues all the time, and that's part of the reason, although the main reason their currencies are horrible is because their finances are messed up as well. Jeffrey Gotts. Hello, Jeffrey. Richard B. A general nationwide breakdown of faith in the electoral process. There. Okay. You're saying basically what I'm saying as well. Very good. Okay. Pablo Pina. Any physical delivery from Brinks trucks comes from the Brinks safer local banks. I don't know what your question is. LOL, I'm having a coffee night. Yeah, you can have a coffee at night. That's true in your Smaulgld mug. That is totally correct. Chuck Delano, Jersey. I don't know what that means. Anyone following copper bullion? I follow it, Chuck, but most people who follow it for general economic indicators rather than because they're following it because they're interested in the price, because they've got contracts or they own tons of copper. But copper's been it's interesting. It's not at its lows. Or it's 5-year lows. It's pretty much in the middle. I think it's about, I don't know, 275 or so a pound. So who here owns a gold coin? Who owns a gold backed yuan? Silver dollar has a better look than a paper dollar, that's for sure. We don't have any more paper dollars. All right, well, looks like we had a small crowd and a small number of comments. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight, and we will see you tomorrow. Smaulgld Sunday night.